Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Newcastle United Digest, your home of bite-sized Newcastle content. My name is Adam Snyder, and this episode will be all about this weekend's match at Fulham. And if you're interested in other short videos about Newcastle United, hit that subscribe button below. There's not been a whole lot of news coming out of Tyneside this week, but the morsels have significant impact both in the short and long terms. Now, the first piece of information concerns Alexander Isak. Now, there was some concern about Alexander Isak missing this weekend's match because of his halftime substitution last weekend at Wolves. He was hit in the face with a clearance just before halftime. He was complaining of blurriness in one of his eyes, and he also had some swelling in that same eye. Fortunately, the swelling went down and he regained eyesight without any issues. But Craig Hope from the Daily Mail is reporting that he picked up a new injury. It's a toe injury, and he is questionable for this weekend. So we'll know more once Eddie Howe talks about it in the press conference on Friday. And at the time of this recording, we were not sure if this is going to be a concern or not. If he is a miss, this could be interesting to see if Sanusi is brought up into the first team fray with Isak and Wilson both out. Right now, once we have your starting three of Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, and Jacob Murphy, your backup depth is Almiron and Osula. Miggy really hasn't played all that much this year, and Osula has been one of those players that is definitely one for the future. And when you think about how many players have taken a long time to get into the starting 11, I think of Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento for starters. That took almost the entirety of last season to finally make it into the bench, let alone the starting 11. And even Bruno, when he signed, had to wait several weeks before he made it into the starting 11 as well. Now, Craig Hope is also reporting this week that Anthony Gordon is being offered a very lucrative contract, reported at about £175,000 a week. This would make him the highest paid player on Newcastle's books. According to his Daily Mail article, it would be a way to ensure that the England international is happy after the summer advances by both Liverpool and Arsenal. And to be honest with you, he'll need all the cash he can get to maintain that new Hummer EV he bought. Now, let's move on to our opposition in Fulham. They had an absolute heartbreaking loss in the Carabao Cup earlier this week when they lost to Preston North End in penalties. Normally that's not a big deal losing to a lower league side in the Carabao Cup, but they lost on penalties 16-15, and they went 17 rounds in this shootout. That is an emotional roller coaster times 3. And I can only imagine how rough it was for them in that locker room afterwards. And their last league match was a draw to West Ham, where they surrendered 2 of their 3 points after conceding on a quick throw-in the 95th minute. They do have some players that are dangerous and are worth watching. One of them is Adama Traore, who has a history of playing well against us, and his speed and strength will be a problem on the left side of defense. And I really hope that Lewis Hall has a fresh shirt at halftime that's free of baby oil. Next one is Raul Jimenez, the Mexican national, who has already scored twice for Fulham in all competitions this season and also scored 7 times for them last season. And for all of you U.S. men's national team fans, you already know about Anthony Robinson and how dangerous he can be at left back. He's already shown it this season how dangerous he can be, and he will be a handful for the right side of the midfield and defense in this game. On paper, Newcastle has a much stronger side than Fulham does, and their current table position definitely reflects that. However, Fulham do have the personnel to exploit some of our current weaknesses. Here are the keys I believe will ensure Newcastle takes all 3 points back to the Northeast. And the first one is playing any minutes of football. This is one thing that I've been really concerned about with Newcastle's play over the last 2 games. They have not played to their full potential, and it really is a concern of mine, especially with how careless our midfield has been passing the last 2 games. The first 15-20 minutes of each game have showed just how dangerous we can be in attack. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to capitalize on the early pressure each game, and we play the rest of the half as if we've already gone up 1 or 2-0. If you want to look at prime examples of what happens when you get complacent, look at Wolves' goal last week and you look at the complacent, careless passing that our midfield had and how careless they were getting back on defense. And the next key is going to be counter precision and set piece magic. Two of their goals conceded in league play have been from set pieces. One of them was on a corner kick against Leicester, and the 95th minute West Ham goal came off a quick throw and that was almost identical to the goal that we scored against Spurs. If we can catch Fulham on the counter, we have plenty of speed to exploit that. We have plenty of people that can ping a pass over or through any defense on the counterattack, and we have the speed that can run up to it and really exploit it. Look at the goal that Isak scored against Spurs after Murphy was set free. And there's plenty of other opportunities where we've done that. We haven't exactly scored, but we have created dangerous chances on the counterattack. The next one is beware of the Traore baby oil slick. Adama Traore has always played well against us, regardless of who he's played for. Baby oil aside, his speed and strength make him a very slippery character, pun intended, on the Cottagers' right side of attack. He will be a proper handful for the left side of defense, especially if Fulham heavily target Dan Burn. And the next is, who has the best Jedi mind tricks? Containing Anthony Robinson on our right flank is going to be absolutely crucial. He is a proper threat going forward, especially when in creating chances. He is almost the identical threat that Kieran Trippier is at his best. So catching him in the attacking third and allowing for that counter on the right-hand side will allow for some opportunities for Gordon and Murphy to exploit their speed. And here's my predicted starting 11 for Fulham this weekend. I think Eddie Howe is going to make just two changes, one in defense and one up top. I think that Trippier is going to come on for Livramento, both for experience and his set-piece prowess. And I also think that you'll see a front three of Murphy, Gordon, and Barnes with Isak out. Now, if Isak's healthy, I think it'll be Gordon and Barnes in the wings, and Murphy will go back to the bench. Everything else will stay the same. And I know what you're thinking right now. Why are you keeping Longstaff in your predicted starting 11? Here's why. I think that Sean Longstaff is going to stay in because Eddie doesn't like to make a whole lot of changes unless they make 100% sense, especially after they win a match. I think that Longstaff probably learned his lesson after getting burned on the Wolves goal last weekend, and I'm hoping that he is producing more direct passes like I know he can, and his work rate on the defensive side of the ball is a lot higher compared to last week. And I think the same goes for Joe Linton as well. But I think that you'll see some early second half subs for both Longstaff and Joe Linton. You'll probably see Tonali come on, and I don't think he's starting because of all of his time that he played in Italy. He played all 90 minutes for both games at the break, and there was a lot of concern from the Newcastle camp about his fitness levels after those two games. They didn't want to bring him up to speed too quickly for fear of injury, and that international break set him back a little bit. And I think it'll be one more game before we see Tonali start. Bottom line is, I think Newcastle are facing a Fulham side who is very motivated to turn their recent fortunes around. After the penalty heartbreak midweek and the late goal last weekend, the Cottagers will be raring to show their home fans that they're back to winning ways. Even with Isak out, I believe we will have enough to exploit their weaknesses on the counter and set pieces. Now, if you're here in the United States, you probably already know that the Premier League Fan Fest is this weekend here in Chicago. And if you are coming to town or live in Chicago and are going to the Fan Fest and Newcastle's International Fan Workshop on Friday night, look for me at both of them. I will be there. And I hope everyone who is traveling gets here safe, you enjoy yourselves, have drama-free trips, and I get to see you at some point this weekend. And if you're not coming to Chicago this weekend, be sure to hit that subscribe button to see my thoughts about the experience of the Fan Fest, as well as my thoughts on Saturday's game. That's all for this episode of the Newcastle United Digest. My name is Adam Snyder. See y'all next week. Bye for now.